did they give you examples of what had happened to them when they talked to you?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
They did, and it was for an old school sales guy. It was not only confronting, but it was consistent. They all said the same thing.
Graham, you must be doing something right. I mean, it's one thing to build followers and a base and all that sort of thing, but it's now things seem to be growing exponentially for you. So what are you doing right?
Well, the best thing in terms of doing things right, Brad, that I did, I think, was to go out and interview buyers.
Yep.
You and I have talked about this before. I spent 25 years listening to every sales guru on the planet.
Yeah.
I worked for companies that would bring in the obligatory sales trainer for the 2 days off-site every year.
Yeah.
I would do, every sales training program known to man. So I've done precision selling, solution selling, target account selling, challenger, spin,
Yep.
value-based, Sandler, Millerheim, done them all.
Yep.
Right? I got sick of hearing all of that repetitive messaging.
Mm.
And instead what I decided to do was go out and actually interview buyers and ask buyers what they thought about engaging with vendor salespeople.
Well, I'd be really curious to hear your thoughts on what they said to you. So this was part of your MBA?
It was.
And so it was under the, not the guys, but it was under the impression that, okay, this is research and I'm doing.
Yep.
So they were a lot more willing to open up and be honest with you, as opposed to if you were a vendor saying, hey, can we get some feedback from you?
I was surprised at how willing, and let me just describe, I'm talking about procurement and vendor management people in enterprise level companies. So
Yep.
companies like Telstra, Qantas, Westpac Bank, Suncorp, some of those big end.
Yep.
I would contact these people, and some of them I knew from sales days.
Yeah.
And I said, listen, I'm doing some research for an MBA right now. I'm thinking about writing a book. Would you mind if I did a quick interview with
Yeah.
you? Most of them were really generous with their time, and most of them were pretty brutal and frank about their experience on the other side of the table.
Right. So did they give you examples of what had happened to them when they talked to you?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
They did, and it was for an old school sales guy. It was not only confronting, but it was consistent. They all said the same thing. So things like, I would ask the question. So tell me, Brad, Mr. Buyer, what's it like for you to engage with vendor salespeople?
Yeah.
And I got feedback like, Graham, salespeople are like robots.
Yeah.
They all sound the same, look the same, dress the same, use the same business buzzwords, same PowerPoint slides. They think we don't know what the spin model is. We do. One of them said to me, we know we only have to wait until 5 p.m. on the final day of the month, and the salesperson will drop their pants and give us a discount.
Right. Wow.
So I got a lot of that sort of feedback.
Yeah. So what did that? I mean, you've been in sales for a long time, right? So, and I suspect you may have used spin yourself in the past, spin selling, and so what was that like to hear that when they told you that?
To say it was a light bulb moment would be an understatement.
Yep.
Because I'd been guilty of doing all the things that I heard.
Mm.
And, in fairness to everybody out there in sales, we're all doing what we're trained to do.
Yeah.
Handling objections, overcoming objections,
Yep.
prospecting, and closing techniques,
Yep.
all that stuff. And when I look back now, it's kind of embarrassing, but yeah, we all did it. So I didn't feel bad. It was just how things were done.
So what are the big things that you think has changed? What would you say has changed the most?
Well, that shift from vendor push selling to customer pull.
Yep.
We can no longer treat the buyer as a virtual adversary that needs to be conquered.
Right. Yeah.
You and I have talked about it before, creating the win-loss scenario. I mean, terms like, if you think about it, Brad, logically, if you think about terms like buyer's remorse and post-purchase dissonance, those terms came about because salespeople, I was trained, get the sale at any cost.
Yeah.
And that invariably leads to over-promising and under-delivering.
Yeah.
And buyers end up feeling very wary and very distrustful of salespeople.
Yeah.
So that stuff can no longer go on with an educated buyer.
Yep.
Buyers know what they want. They can solve their own problems. They don't need you coming in and overcoming their objections and closing them.
So Graham, you do a lot of training, right? So you come across a lot of different types of salespeople. And do you ever get that salesperson? It's like, I've been doing it like this for the last 30 years. It's been working. My numbers are great.
Yeah.
What you know the type of salesperson I'm talking about.
I know
right?
exactly the type. And, frankly, I was that type a while back.
Yeah.
Where you think you know everything and you've been successful and you've ridden the wave and all that stuff, and you don't need some person telling you that you need to change. But the truth is now everyone needs to change.
Yeah.
And guess what? All of those old guys,
Mm.
they're coming to us now, a lot of them,
Yeah.
and they're saying, you know,
Shit, the world's changed.
yes, everything's changed. I'm
Yeah.
finding it difficult now.
Yeah.
So some proof points for you.
Yeah.
Sales attrition is double any other department, generally speaking.
Yes.
Right. So there's more turnover in the sales department. 16.8 months is the average sales tenure. And
So it's not appealing to be in that
well,
space.
It's not
if
at
that's the
all
case.
now. And worse still, get this one. Harvard Business Review said in 2018, I think, that 63% of the world's B2B salespeople are failing to meet or exceed quota.
Geez, that's scary.
Imagine if 63% of the world's doctors were failing,
Yeah.
or
Yep.
you know.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of turnover. There's a lot of turbulence and a lot of volatility going on now in the sales world because of all of this change.